Hey guys, welcome back. This is Corey, and I'm going to do a lesson on how to change electric guitar strings. So, I'm going to actually change the D string, this one right here, third from the right, third lowest, fourth string, just because, I don't know why not change the D, I suppose. So anyway, there's a couple things you're going to need. You're going to need either a pair of pliers, or some kind of string winder. This is actually a really good one. This is by Planet Waves, and it's got your little string windy thing here. There's also a little thing for pulling out the bridge pegs of your acoustic guitars without damaging the pegs themselves, which is nice. And a little string cutter. So I like this. Not that I'm endorsed or anything, but I do like changing strings about the easiest thing that it can be. So you're going to want something like this, and you're going to need some kind of a tuner, and you're going to need some strings. So anyway, first thing that we're going to do is take and lower the tension on the string because we need to cut it. So I'm just going to lower my D string so it's kind of like a spaghetti noodle. And then take my trusty cutter and make sure you're cutting the right string. I've actually, never mind, sometimes when you're tired you do odd things. Anyway, so I'm going to cut my D string somewhere in the center, and then you need to actually detach it from the bridge. So I'm using a Stratocaster style guitar here. And sometimes with this, it kind of depends, but sometimes if the string has been in the bridge a long time, it'll actually get stuck behind the guitar. So anyway, I've actually taken off the back plate of my guitar. I've done this just so I can adjust the tremolo system a little bit, but also it does make changing the strings a lot easier. Not necessary to do this, but just because it's off and I actually can't find the plate now. We're going to do it this way. So what you want to do is take and just poke the string back through, and because there isn't a plate, it's actually quite easy to get it out. But a lot of times when you have your back plate on, the peg, the ball, on the end of the string will actually be poking against the back plate, and so sometimes I'll have to take a guitar pick to kind of help guide the string out. Because the hole doesn't line up with the way the strings want to go in and out. So anyway, you want to take out this end of the string. Always take your string and coil it up a little bit, kind of like how it comes out of the pack. It's a little bit harder with this side because it's always a little shorter. But something like this, and the reason for this is you want to keep them in some kind of a pile and pick them up immediately before any sort of house pets start chewing on them. Before you might step on them. They're very sharp, and dogs and cats do like to play with these. So just put them somewhere safe that you can tend to them immediately. Now you want to take the other end of your string and come and just take it off this end of the guitar. And also be careful because the strings are kind of, they're compressed because they've been wound around the peg head, and they like to sort of snap out, and a lot of times they can actually cut you. So just be careful with that. And then you're going to take this end and do the same thing. And put that in your little pile. Okay, and so you want to make sure that you're replacing the right string. And so a lot of strings are color-coded, where the ball ends are actually color-coded. And so the fourth string happens to be a black end, so I'm going to look for that. If not, just refer to the sizing chart on the back of the box. But anyway, make sure you're replacing the right one, because visually they do look very similar, and you don't want to ruin one string because then you'll have to buy a whole new pack to get the same string. So anyway, when you have it, you want to make sure that you uncoil it pretty carefully so you don't put any kinks in it, and it can actually hit you in the face too if you're not careful. And this is quite a bit easier than acoustic guitars actually, because you don't have to deal with the bridge pegs and that whole step process. So anyway, you're looking for the end that is pointy without the ball on it, and you're going to flip your guitar over, and you're going to count down the amount of holes, and you're looking for the third hole down, and quite a bit easier without the back on it. I actually kind of wish I had the back on it so I could show you. But either way, you just have to kind of poke around a little bit. Now what's really important though is that you make sure the string comes out and directly through the saddle. Each of these little string guides is called a saddle. And you want to make sure you come through the right saddle and then it doesn't come under or on the side or in between a saddle. So that's really important. And if you tighten it and it actually was in the wrong spot, you'll put a kink in the string that'll weaken the string, and it's not going to be, you won't be able to fix that. So just make sure you pull it through the saddle. And then as you do that, you want to kind of look back and just give it a nice tug and make sure that the ball has actually passed the this back plate that's connected to the tremolo. I don't know the name of that, but kind of the back side of the tremolo system. And just make sure that the ball itself is flush up against the underside of the saddle. So then you bring it over here and you take the tip of your string, all off camera of course, and what I'm going to do, I'll pick it up in a sec here, but you just want to make sure that as you go through that, I like to twist my my peg head to where it's at a nice straight angle to where you can pull the string through and it's not, the string isn't shooting off this way or this way, so that's important. So now that we have it in the back, in the bridge of the guitar, I'm going to actually zoom in for a close-up and show you guys how to wind the string. And also, I wanted to switch guitars here because I wanted to talk a little bit about just the slight differences on stringing a Les Paul style guitar like this. There isn't really anything different with the winding or anything else, but the bridge is different. The tremolo system doesn't exist. And so all you have to do is just remember to thread your string through this, the stop piece, until the ball hits the stop piece. And just make sure it goes over the saddle right here and that it doesn't actually end up slipping in between the saddles or anything like that. I always do a final check before I start really tightening down the string and make sure that it's I make sure that it's sitting right on the saddle. And otherwise you're totally fine. Okay, welcome back to the close-up. So once you have your string and it's fed through the saddle, you wanna pull it to where it's nice and well, you want to make sure first of all that it's like this, where the eye of the peg head is aligned with the string. And then as you have that, you want to grab from the inward side of the peg head. Actually, maybe it doesn't really matter what two fingers, but the thumb and middle finger are going to end up holding the string, and pull it back about 3 inches or so, so about that much, because you want to this is the part of the string you're actually going to wind around the peg head. And then I use my first finger and I kind of keep it here, and you'll see what I mean. Take your string winder and lock it in here. And then as you start to wind this, it's very important that you don't let any more of the string come out or go in than what you already got. So that's kind of why you're holding it with your thumb and your middle finger back here. First finger acts as a loop babysitter, because you got this loop that's about to form as I wind, and it's going to want to flip over the top here, so you need to keep it from flipping over the top. This first wind is the hardest. So the excess of the string, this part here, on the first time around is going to go underneath the loop, the rest of the string. So it's kind of tricky. So you need to take your get your first finger, just guide that loop, keep that loop from flipping over the top. So first wind around, and then you have your excess part of the string here. It's always kind of hard with Stratocasters because of this right here. It gets caught on other strings. It's always easier in the how-to videos, right? So then the rest of the times, as you do these winds, you're going to allow the excess of the string to go on top. So it's going to go over your fingers. And this is why a string winder is so handy. Now every time you wind around now, it's still going to go under, but each time is going to go under the previous time. So I pretty much, the technique to that is just keeping your first finger here and keeping the string, I kind of push it against the bottom part of the peg head. and that tends to guide the string naturally on the bottom as you go around. And if you've given yourself enough slack, you should get about 3 winds around, maybe more, maybe less. But you're shooting for about 3 winds around. Looks like this time I might get a little bit more. Now, something else really important, as you notice I'm winding this, I'm always winding from the inner side of the peg head. So, in other words, I'm always on, at least with this type of guitar, I'm on the right side. I'm winding from the right side when you look down on it. And that's important. You don't want to wind strings on the outward side because it's kind of a funky angle, and the guitar is designed to have as straight a line as possible from the nut of the guitar to the peg head. So that's really important. And so once you get it up to, where it's starting to feel snug, I would stop the winding, the string winding. And then you want to take and feel free to cut the excess off. I leave about that much, a couple of millimeters, and you can bend it down like that if you want. Be really careful not to poke yourself, it's quite sharp. And now we'll go to the next step, which is stretching your strings in. Okay, so now that we've wound our string, we need to do what's called stretching the string in. So you want to take your string and connect it to your guitar tuner. I'm using my pedal tuner on the floor here. A little bit simpler for me. And when it's tuned to pitch, you want to take your first, your middle, and your third finger and put it underneath the string about around the 9th or the 10th fret. And then your thumb goes on the other end. And what we're going to end up doing is actually pulling the string up this way, but we want to support the neck of the guitar and the string before we start to pull. So left hand goes over the D string in front of the nut over here, so around the 1st or the 2nd fret. And the inner elbow of your right arm is going to go in front of the bridge on the string, so kind of to help support the string to not have all the pressure on the actual bridge itself. So when you have your hands, your elbow and your left hand here, then you want to take and pull your string up, and as you pull you want to kind of push with your elbow a little bit to counter the pressure, and to push with your left hand a little bit. And I'm pulling pretty hard. You want to kind of feel it out in the beginning stages of exactly what the string, how the string feels. You don't want to snap the string and you don't want to rip the string out, but the idea here is to stretch the string and help it to stay in tune a little bit faster. It also helps it compress the windings around the peg head here, and it helps to just pretty much to get the string up to where it wants to be, so you don't have to go through and tune it like 6 times or something like that. And actually it's dropped an entire tone from doing that, an entire 2 frets, so we're at a C note now. So just from that little bit of stretching, I've saved myself having to wait for it to stretch itself a whole tone. So now that it's back up to pitch again, I'm going to try to do it again. And I've found that 2 times is enough to really get the string to start to find its equilibrium. There we go. And as you change strings, a little bit of a pointer now is, I should have told you this earlier, but do 1 string at a time unless for some reason you have to clean your fretboard or do some maintenance on your guitar that requires you to take off the pick guard or something that you can't get to with the strings on. So it's better to do that because this guitar is set up a certain way, and you want to keep the tension on the neck the same. And so if you remove 1 string, you're not taking off a lot of pressure on the neck, but if you take all 6 strings off, the neck is just going to kind of do whatever it wants. And when you put the strings back on, you're not going to have the same equilibrium that you had before. So you just want to make sure to change 1 string at a time and to tune it up to pitch, and then when everything's ready, then move on to the next string. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to change your electric guitar strings. Stay in tune, and I'll see you next time.